Hi, I'm Kermit the Alien, and you're watching Resto Roomba. The iRobot Braavas are mopping robots. They are divided into three main series: the 200, M, and most importantly 300 series, which we will take a look at today. These robots can sometimes be referred to as Mint floor cleaners, made by the company Evolution Robotics, which was later bought out by iRobot. That's why the name was changed. This particular series of robots move using two wheels, similar to a Roomba, navigate using a special North Star navigation cube, bumper, and infrared sensors. Then they do the mopping using a mopping pad with a cleaning head that you have to fill with water instead of a sprayer, which the Braava jets use. Here we have my model, which is the 380T. It came with the cleaning head, two mopping pads, the North Star navigation cube, original charging cable, and a new battery that was already inside the robot. Sadly, it did not come with the charging base and also the dry cleaning head, but that's not really an issue, since I bought it second-hand. The robot works, but one of its wheels makes a weird clicking noise, almost like something is stuck inside its motor. And also, even though it connects to the cube, over time it loses connection and gets lost, then errors out, which seems to be caused because of the sensor being dirty. Enough of the intro, and let's get this guy open. First, I remove the battery. And please remember, when opening any kind of electronic device, always make sure it's unplugged, or in this case, the battery is removed. You might risk damaging the device or getting electric shocked, and we don't want that to happen. Here you can see a ton of debris being stuck near the wheels, which will need to be cleaned out. The main cover is held on using 4 screws located on the bottom of the bumper part. Unscrew these bad boys and simply lift the plastic. Here's the big reveal! I was actually really surprised at the size of the motherboard, comparing it to a 500 series Roomba's board. It's so small! Here's a closer look at it. You can see the Evolution Robotics logo, 3 buttons which are labeled Dry Clean, Wet Clean, and Power. A piezoelectric speaker, LEDs for the buttons and the front display, infrared sensors, and the navigation sensor. That was really dirty, so I cleaned it using a damp paper towel. The inside was also pretty dirty, and I couldn't help but notice everything was covered in spider webs. Wonder how that happened. And then, everything was clear. Spiders. Even though these were dead and basically turned to powder when I touched them, I was super grossed out. I unscrewed the bumper sensors, checked if everything looked good, cleaned them, and put them back in. Then removed the springs holding in the bumper, unscrewed all of its components, and deep cleaned the plastic parts in my bathtub. No more of that spider party. Now it's time for the buttons. Unscrew the cover, take out the 3 springs and the decorative caps. Then clean everything out. It's interesting that you can see these were actually airbrushed black. I unplugged the charging connector from the motherboard and completely removed the top cover. Then I unscrew and push out the faceplate to repaint. Note, when removing the faceplate, this little clear guy falls out. Keep an eye on him, as this is the front display piece and it can easily get lost. Using a small screwdriver, I push out the rubber bumper covers. One by one, and it's off. Clean it and it's ready for repainting. I screw back the clean magnets into the bottom front piece, as these are now dry. Now moving on to checking the 2 wheel motors. Unscrew the 2 big screws from the metal part, then remove it. I noticed and was wondering, why are the Braava wheels so quiet compared to Roombas? And surprise surprise, there's actually no gearbox. The motor is directly connected to the wheels. I take them out, clean them, and put them back in. Thankfully nothing was broken. After cleaning, the clicking noise stopped. Next, I took out and deep cleaned the tires. And that's it for the cleaning and disassembling. Turns out the Braava 300 series are pretty simple robots, at least compared to Roombas. Now let's move on to the cosmetic restoring. When I restore my robots, I like to call them after space-related stuff. For example, my first Roomba is called Endeavour, after the space shuttle. This name actually has a long story behind it. When I saw the Braava, I thought, Cassini. I don't know why, it just occurred to me. So I decided to make its whole new theme after Cassini, the Saturn Exploring Space Probe. I decided to put the name on the bottom right corner of the bumper, unlike with Endeavour, where I put the name directly under the logo, to pay homage to the original Mint floor cleaners. I designed the name in cursive to give the robot some elegant flair. Because Cassini is mainly gold, and the planet Saturn is sort of a gold-ish color, plus it matches nicely with the black, I decided gold will be the accent color with black being the main color. So let's go airbrush this mop. First, I start with sanding the surface with fine-grained sandpaper. Before you paint anything that has a smooth surface, make sure to sand it so paint adheres better. Also, my faceplate was stained with some sort of dry gunk, so the sanding removed it. I make sure not to sand the logo and the navigation window, and pay extra attention to the edges, because that's where paint likes to chip the most. When I finished, I rinsed the pieces under running water. Using liquid latex, I cover up the logo and the window so it protects the surface from paint. When the paint dries, I can simply peel it off. Now for the primer. I used Vallejo brand airbrush primer and later paint. It took me 5 coats to achieve even coverage. After the priming is done, I do a few coats of black, then an extremely thin down coat of gold to give it some shine but keep the black color. To seal it all in and create a surface that I can draw on to sketch out my design, I use Mr. Super Clear UV Cut Flat Sealant. I let it dry completely. It took me about half an hour in my workshop, but this spray likes to dry however it wants to. So, if you want to use it for your project, do a few thin coats and make sure they are matte. That means it's dry. I sketched out my design on a piece of paper and used watercolor pencils to make a sketch on the faceplate and bumper piece. Then, I removed the liquid latex and using a thin brush and gold model paint, I paint over the sketch. When it dries, I remove the drawn-on stuff with a wet paper towel. While I was at it, I painted the cute pattern on the wheels the same shade of gold and sealed it in with Vallejo metal color gloss sealant. To finish off the new paint job, I sprayed 2 coats of epoxy resin-based clear coat on the dry painted pieces. To robot back together. I superglued the small clear part as it kept falling off or rattling and annoying me. I screwed in the faceplate, put the buttons back in, reconnected the rubber bumper cover, pushed the springs in, screwed in the bumper, reattached its springs, plugged in the charging port, screwed everything shut, and finally put the battery back in. And here we have it. The Braava 380T Cassini is complete. Let's see it in action. Thanks for watching and hope you enjoyed the restoration process. It might have been quick on video, but in reality this whole thing took me about 1 week. After all, this mopping robot was in surprisingly good shape. Well, except the spider part. Now Cassini is 100% functional, does not get lost or keep making weird noises. If you liked what you saw, please leave a like and subscribe. And stay on the lookout for more robot content. Bye!